Hello, I'm Dr. Ajit Pai and I'm a consultant in surgical oncology and robotic surgery at the Apollo Cancer Center, Chennai. Today I'm going to talk to you about colon and rectal cancers, commonly called as colorectal cancers. So to start off, what is the colon and the rectum? The colon and the rectum form the large intestine, which is the last part of the intestine. So normally we eat food, it comes into the stomach, then it runs through the small intestine where most of the nutrient absorption occurs. The small intestine is normally about 10 meters in length, that's about 300 centimeters in length, and then it leads to the large intestine, which has an ascending colon, a transverse colon, a descending colon, a sigmoid, and the last part where the stool is stored before expelling, the last 6 inches, is called the rectum. The total length of the colon and rectum, whose major function is to absorb water, is around 1.5 meters or 5 feet. Why is colorectal cancer such an important problem that we are speaking to you today about it? Worldwide, if you look at it, more than 1.4 million cases of colon and rectal cancer are diagnosed every year, and it leads to about 700,000 deaths every year. It is the fourth most common cancer worldwide, men and women put together, and it is the third most common cause of death. So almost half the people diagnosed with colorectal cancer die of the disease when you look on a worldwide basis. In India, it is the fourth most common cancer in men and the fifth most common cancer in women when you look at the entire global the cancer registry in India. Colorectal cancer is increasing rapidly, especially in younger individuals under the age of 40. Typically, it used to affect people in the 6th to 7th decade of life, but now we are seeing younger and younger people. We are seeing people even in their 20s and 30s being diagnosed with aggressive colon and rectal cancer. What are the risk factors for colon rectal cancer? Why is it increasing so rapidly in India and other countries which are now becoming developed countries? The risk factors are multifactorial. There is a combination of westernization of our diet. So westernization means that our diet contains a lot of processed food, a lot of food which comes from tins or cans, not fresh food. Also, we eat a lot of red meat. So this could be mutton, it could be lamb, it could be pork or beef. Red meat is known to increase the risk of breast and colon cancer, and this is why it is increasing the risk of breast and colon cancer in India. High fat diets, which contain more than 30% of fat, especially saturated fat, is damaging to the lining of the colon and rectum. Alcohol intake increases the risk of colon and rectal cancer, and smoking, though not a definite risk factor, is associated with rectal cancers for sure. A sedentary lifestyle which leads to obesity, typically a desk job, markedly increases the risk of colon cancer. So anything which increases your activity and reduces your body and visceral fat content is going to be protective. A small proportion of patients, I would say about 5 to 10%, there is a genetic basis. When you say genetic basis, that means say the father or mother or let's say an uncle had cancer of the colon, and then they have a gene which has a mutation, and that is passed on to the next generation. So the next generation can develop a cancer. Typically these cancers occur in multiple individuals, what are called first degree relatives. For example, the son is a first degree relative, the daughter is a first degree relative. For a man, his sister, for example, or brother is a first degree relative, his child is a first degree relative. So typically when you have a family history of cancer, what we take it to mean is multiple cancers in the same family in different organs, for example, colon and breast cancer, colon and ovarian cancer. Multiple people being affected by the cancer, typically young age, usually less than 40 when they develop cancer, and often an aggressive type of cancer. So this means there is a family history, and then we have to look at certain genetic abnormalities in the person having the cancer, and if they have it, then the other members in the family are also at risk. So what are the common signs and symptoms of colon rectal cancer? How does one know that one could be having a colorectal cancer and then seek help from the doctor? So typically the commonest symptom is painless bleeding coming from the anus. So this could be a few drops of blood, it could be blood mixed to the stool, blood coming after the stool has passed, clots in the stool, or a blackish or brownish discoloration of the stool, what is called melena, when the blood has been there for some time in the intestine. So whenever you have bleeding from the rectum coming out through the anus, it is an abnormal symptom. So you should not self-medicate, you should not consider that it is just piles and just take some Ayurvedic or native medical treatment. You should come to the doctor. Now, a large proportion of people will definitely have piles or what we call hemorrhoids. These are basically small veins which are present in all of us, and they are important for us to maintain our continence. That is, for us to maintain the ability to keep the stool in the anus till it is in the rectum till it has to be passed out. Now, whenever these veins are engorged, that is like how we get dilated veins in the lower limbs, if the veins become large, they can rupture and cause bleeding. This is what we call as piles. So the piles the doctor can easily examine by putting a small tube inside called a proctoscope, and then if there is a pile, he may give some medical treatment, and if the pile mass is large, he may put a band or he may remove the pile mass in a small surgery. So this is what you will do if you have hemorrhoids. Now, if you have bleeding PR with other symptoms, for example, you have been losing weight, you have anemia, so you did a master health checkup and your hemoglobin is low, less than 10, you're feeling weak or tired, your bowel habits have altered. So altered bowel habits is a very characteristic symptom of colorectal cancer. What does it mean? Let's say you are passing stool once a day, suddenly you're passing 3 or 4 times. Or let's say that you had constipation normally, you pass stool only once in 2 days, and hard stool, suddenly you find the stool is loose and normal. Or there is stool mixed with some mucus. All this means there's an alteration of bowel pattern. Bowel patterns usually set once a person reaches adulthood. So any alteration of the bowel habit is definitely a very sign of serious concern, and you should seek treatment with the doctor. Again, pain when passing stool is abnormal, and you should consider that it is abnormal and come to the doctor. Now, let's say there's bleeding per rectum. Does every bleeding per rectum require further testing? The common test, as you all know, is called a colonoscopy, where you pass a lighted tube with a camera right through the anus, and it goes all the way inside up to your small intestine, the lower end, and we can look at if there is any growth or any polyp or any abnormality or ulcer. So every person, practically it is impossible to do a colonoscopy. So you should have a colonoscopy and ask your doctor about it. If you have bleeding PR after the age of 50, if you have symptoms like I said before of anemia, weight loss, a strong family history of colorectal cancer, or if there is alteration of bowel habits, or you have pain in the abdomen, especially when passing stool. So if these signs are there, then definitely you should consider consulting a doctor and ask for a colonoscopy. Now, the advantage of colonoscopy is two. One, it can locate the source of bleeding. Sometimes if it is say a small ulcer, or sometimes you can have growths called polyps, which are benign growths which bleed, they can be removed and tested. So if these polyps are the source of bleeding, then once you remove it, your treatment is complete, you don't need any further treatment. Also, if you have polyps, then it means that you have to be under surveillance, which means you have to have a colonoscopy done maybe every 3 years or so to look for new polyps forming. Why are polyps important, and why is colonoscopy an effective method to screen for colon and rectal cancer? So when we say screening, we mean that we can try to reduce the death rate from the cancer by doing certain simple tests so that we detect cancer at an early stage. So for colon and rectal cancer, typically it starts off as small growths called polyps. These are like what we get on the skin, growths coming outside. These are growths growing inside the colon. So when you do a colonoscopy, for instance, you will find these growths and you'll be able to remove them and test them. And if they are benign, then no problem. If they are the precancerous, then you will never get cancer from that particular polyp. So doing this colonoscopy at the age of 50, and if you have had a symptoms like bleeding PR with other symptoms like weight loss or anemia, and then doing it every 3 years or so, there are strict guidelines, will help you avoid colorectal cancer. So the risk of getting colon cancer will reduce by 20% by regular colonoscopies, and the risk of dying from colon cancer reduces by 35%, provided everybody over the age of 50 is doing it as per the recommendations. So it is an effective screening tool, and definitely all men and women over the age of 50 should have at least one colonoscopy to look at the state of the colon and rectum. So what are the stages of colon cancer? So when you say stage, it means what is the extent of cancer and how we are able to define it into different groups. So typically an early colon cancer is called a stage 1, which means it is confined to the wall of the intestine, colon or rectum. Stage 2 would be something which has gone into the wall but not crossed the wall. Stage 3 is something which has crossed the wall and spread to the nodes around it. So the nodes around the colon or the rectum. And stage 4 is typically something which has spread to the lining of the belly, what you call the peritoneum, or spread to organs like bone, liver or lung. Common organ is liver. Higher the stage of the cancer, obviously the more difficult it is to treat and the survival will drop. So stage 1 colon cancer, you would have say 100% survival at 5 years. That means all people treated will be alive at 5 years. But as you go to stage 4, you may find that the survival drops markedly. For stage 4, it may be only 30 to 40% 5-year survival in the best case scenario. Typically, most people come at stage 2 or stage 3. So it is important that when you have a symptom, you don't ignore it, because the earlier you come, the higher the chance that you will be cured and the easier the treatment for you in terms of side effects and complications. How do we stage up a cancer? We do certain tests. So apart from the blood tests which we do, like the complete blood count, the liver and kidney function, we'll also be doing CT scans of the chest and abdomen, or we can also do what is called a PET CT scan. A PET CT scan is something where apart from a CT scan, we are going to inject a small dose of an isotope, a radioactive isotope, and this will light up wherever the cancer is, because the cancer takes it up better than normal cells. So if you have a colon cancer, it will light up in the colon, and if it has spread to the node will also be seen. If it has spread to the liver will be seen. So based on this, the doctor, the surgeon, the medical oncologist, radiation oncologist, a pathologist, and the radiologist will sit together, and we will find out what is the exact extent of cancer and plan treatment. So once a colon cancer is diagnosed or a rectal cancer is diagnosed, what is the next step of treatment? So typically what we do at Apollo Cancer is we have something called a multidisciplinary tumor board meeting. Multidisciplinary means that every decision for a patient is not taken by one single doctor in isolation. So there will be a surgeon like me, there will be a medical oncologist, there will be a radiation oncologist, there will be a pathologist, there will be a radiologist, and sometimes there can be even something like nursing staff who are going to be involved in the care of the patient, and a nuclear medicine specialist. All of us put together will look at the history of the patient, what findings were there on examination, what did the colonoscopy show, what did the biopsy show, and what did the CT scan or PET CT scan show. Based on that, we'll say, okay, this person has got, say, a stage 3 rectal cancer, and this is the treatment decided. When all of us have agreed, then we sign off on that particular patient, and then he goes or she goes for treatment. So that is called discussion in a multidisciplinary manner, or a tumor board. So every patient we have with any cancer, and definitely for colon rectal cancer, will undergo the tumor board meeting. The patient will not be present, but all his reports and things will be discussed, and then the next week the patient is called for the definitive treatment. This ensures that every patient is seen by more than one person, and the decision for the treatment is not in isolation but as a group, as a whole. This improves the outcomes for the patient. So what is the mode of treatment for colon cancer? Colon cancer is typically treated with surgery. Surgery removes the affected segment of the intestine with a margin, which is a normal tissue, say about 5 centimeters on either side. Along with that, we will also remove all the lymph nodes which are involved with cancer, and we will rejoin the intestine above and below so that the person has a normal function. Typically after the surgery, you do not require a bag, what is called a stoma, which I will discuss later, and recovery is rapid. After surgery, you will have to meet the surgeon, the medical and radiation oncologist, and based on your report, they will decide about the need for further treatment. Typically, very early colon cancers which are confined to the wall of the intestine, no further treatment is required, and almost all patients are cured. But if there are nodal involvement, that it has spread to the nodes or it has crossed the wall of the intestine, then chemotherapy will give a benefit in terms of reducing the risk of the cancer coming back. Again, if you have a colon cancer which has spread to the liver, then chemotherapy is required after surgery to make the liver lesions disappear, and eventually surgery for the liver may also be required at the same time or as a staged manner. How is rectal cancer treated? Rectal cancer has slightly different treatment from colon cancer. The rectum is the last 6 inches of the large intestine, which connects the colon, which absorbs water, to the anus, and it is a reservoir which keeps the stool at night, so that in the morning we can pass the stool comfortably. Now the rectal cancer, the problems are that it is in a very narrow part of the body where all the nerves, the blood vessels, the pipes coming from the kidney called the ureters are located. So what happens is it is surrounded by very important and critical structures. So it is easy for the cancer to invade these structures, and also during treatment, radiation or surgery, these structures can be damaged. Most rectal cancers we see, unless the patient has come very early when they have bleeding, usually present with what is called stage 3 rectal cancer. This is a tumor which has crossed the wall of the intestine into the tissues around, which is called mesorectum, and also to some of the nodes. So stage 3 rectal cancer, if we directly do surgery, a large number of people, about 10 to 15% of people, are going to come back quickly with recurrent disease at the site where surgery has been done. So to avoid this, investigators found in the 80s and 90s that if you give radiation with a small dose of chemotherapy, it will shrink the cancer inwards. Once the cancer shrinks inwards, it becomes smaller, it moves away from all the critical structures, and then you can do a good quality surgery. Now the surgery for rectal cancer can be of 3 types. It can be done by conventional open surgery, which has a long 8 to 10 inch cut. Nowadays at Apollo Cancer, we are doing laparoscopic surgery where we have small incisions, what is called keyhole surgery, and the entire rectal specimen with the tumor can be removed. we can rejoin the intestine, and the person can go home in as quickly as 3 or 4 days compared to about 10 days with open surgery. Moving beyond laparoscopy, we now do something called robotic surgery, which is basically computer-aided surgery. It's a form of laparoscopy which is using a device called a robo, which is completely under the control of the surgeon. So it is what is known as computer-aided surgery. So the surgeon performs the surgery, but the robo is handling the instruments, and unlike laparoscopy where the surgeon is handling the instruments. This leads to high quality surgery because the magnification is almost 10 times. The surgeon is sitting comfortably at a console and doing 3-dimensional vision guided surgery. And because of the high definition vision in 3 dimension, he is able to see even the finest nerves in the pelvis. So what happens is when these nerves are preserved, the function is going to be very good. So that begs the question, what happens if these nerves are damaged? When you do rectal surgery, if the nerves are damaged, then it can lead to impotence in males. It can lead to urinary disturbances in men and women. Either the urine cannot pass properly, what you call urinary retention, or the person can become incontinent where there is dribbling of urine. So it is very important that these nerves are carefully seen and preserved, and robotic surgery definitely gives the highest form of preservation of these nerves, and complete recovery, even if the nerves are touched, for example, happens within 3 to 6 months. So open surgery, lab and robotic, I would say more than 90 to 95% of surgeries we do here at Apollo Cancer is going to be with laparoscopy or robotic surgery. What is the recovery after colon rectal surgery? Typically, since most of the surgeries we do here are going to be minimally invasive keyhole by lap or robotic, recovery is very rapid. Typically, people are discharged within 3 to 4 days of surgery, and you will go home walking. You will be having almost a normal diet, and you'll be on simple painkillers for pain. You won't be on any antibiotics. Your recovery at home will take another week or so, but most people are able to even go back to work within about 3 to 4 weeks. If your doctor has told you that you require chemotherapy based on your report, then chemo can start about 1 month after surgery. Typically 4 to 6 courses of chemotherapy are given, but you can continue to work when you're on chemotherapy because most of the time it's a daycare procedure. So the normal function after surgery will take some time. That is what I'm talking about is bowel function. So bowel function after surgery is going to be impacted a little bit. So after colon surgery, when we remove part of the colon, because it's shortened, the path is shortened, you might find that you are passing stool 3 or 4 times a day. Sometimes it can be a little watery, but what happens is the body will regenerate in terms of the ability of the remaining intestine to absorb more water. It becomes more efficient. So eventually after 3 to 6 months, you'll have normal function. If you have had surgery for rectal cancer, because the rectum is something which cannot be replaced with any other organ, so even though we are joining back the colon to the lower part of the rectum, you can still have some alteration of function which can persist for 6 months. So typically passing stool immediately after eating food, having a little pain when passing stool, all this can happen. But again, there are medications to avoid major side effects and to make recovery quicker. So if you do a keyhole surgery with lap or robotic, because the nerves are also protected, definitely the chance of getting these symptoms is reduced, what you call the low anterior resection syndrome. That is after removal of the rectum, which is called anterior resection, the chance of having this abnormal function is markedly reduced when you use keyhole surgery. Apart from that, the radiation should have been given very properly. The radiation to shrink the tumor should only work on the tumor and not on the surrounding nerves. This will reduce the chance of side effects after surgery.